Morning, everybody. Anthony here. It is Thursday, December 22nd, 2016, and I am here in my place here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I wanted to get this video up today. I thought it was very insightful, and I thought it was a good time to post it. It's entitled The Top 5 SHTF Surprises, and it comes to us from the SHTF school on a recent course that they did called A Mile in My Shoes. I think he did it over in where he's from, in Yugoslavia. And I thought we would go over and review the 5 SHTF surprises because I think a lot of what's written in here will come to pass if there ever is, or at the time there will be a SHTF here in our country or in our location that we are in. So let's look at the top 5 surprises that the students faced in this course, and maybe they hadn't realized before the course started. So number 1, how close the fighting will be. And here you see a picture of an alleyway with the house on the left, the house on the right. Okay. And he goes on to say, this picture taken very close to my house was one of the front lines for some time. One side was in houses on the left of the alley, and the other side, the enemy, were in the right side of the houses. This seems incredibly close, and it is, but then realize there were times when the dividing lines were even closer than this. When you put that into perspective, that you can start to think about the new reality, because there is nothing very static and sure when SHTF. One day the house next to you can be completely safe. The other day there might be someone inside who wants to harm you, or simply you'll never be sure how safe and secure are your surroundings. It is the most dangerous aspect of urban SHTF because you'll have a lot of people in a relatively small area, and you'll have higher demand for very limited resources because the system is gone. Now, when you add to that calculation the fact that a lot of houses are going to be destroyed, you get to the point that you never know anything for sure, whereas someone and what intention they have. This is especially important if you're planning to survive an urban SHTF alone, sort of like a lone wolf theory, so you can get a feeling of how hard it's going to be. Number 2, the enemy will look, sound, and speak like you. They may even have been your longtime friends, but are now on the opposite side. The fighting here was divided by all sorts of reasons: race, religion, affiliation, heritage, politics, and often a big mix of all these things. Sides were always changing as well. That's just the enemy. When it comes to survival, you will fight to get what you need or protect what you have from whoever. Having thoughts that some foreign forces will invade your country, forces that will look, act, and speak completely different than you, and people from your surroundings are just mostly fantasies, especially when we talk about the USA. That may be the case, but you're going to have a lot of local fighting and surviving before that. Strong systems are going to have a bigger and longer fall. There is a way to make many people and weapons in the use. There is way too many people and weapons in the U.S. for some foreign force to choose to invade and pacify the country. It is impossible. What is possible is to push some country into chaos in order to turn on themselves, suffer hunger, prolong chaos, and similar, and maybe then invade. Let's stop at that sentence for a minute. This is a fear of mine, or a scenario of mine, that I think needs further discussion. I think our country is being pushed into chaos by the previous administration for the last 8 years. They have pushed the country into chaos, into turning on ourselves with race as a starting point. The hunger and the prolonged chaos and similar would come after when an SHTF actually occurs. But make no mistake, friends, that our country was being and is probably still being pushed into that direction. The people that are orchestrating this are still in power. And even after they leave power, they're still in places of power around the world to continue to foment this. So this is a real possibility here in the United States, turning on ourselves, wearing ourselves down, fighting each other, and then possibly being invaded by, say, the UN or a group of nations to come and as he says here, pacify, which would mean to take us over and turn us into something that we're not. So keep that in mind when you are preparing for SHTF and the scenarios. The first thing they would want to do, I think, in our country is to get us fighting each other. At the end, it all comes to you and people who want to harm you. The fact that people want to harm you were people who you used to know does not make it easier. Do not expect Martians or Russians. Expect people who look, act, and talk like you, who want to survive just like you. Again, we come to the point that you will be forced to fight with your neighbors, fellow countrymen, for resources. Number 3, how busy an average day was. Fighting for survival is an all-day, everyday task. You are constantly hunting, scavenging, gathering, finding information, looking and checking things, all while the most stressed you have ever been and under constant threat, all while being hungry and thirsty. There is no day off or break. This is the big difference between a soldier and a civilian in war. A soldier has a job to do and all his other needs are taken care of. He can just focus on his job. In a civil war, you and your group need to cover all tasks at all the time. If you served an army, you had clear orders, topics. Outside of that, you did not need to think about too many things. You had backup or a rear. Your job was to do tasks, and someone else took care of all the other things in order for you to finish your tasks successfully. In an SHTF, you are the first unit, rear, and backup. If you F up and break your leg, there is no medical evacuation. If you did not find food or any other resources, there is no service who will do that for you. It is hard time, and day is full of acquiring things and finishing jobs. Shooting at someone may look like a fun idea today or romantic in some way. It is maybe more romantic than to think how to manage your waste or do a bath or lower your kid's fever in the middle of an SHTF. You are everything when SHTF because the system is out. That number 3 is a super important thing to understand and let it sink in, especially for those of us that have never been through a prolonged SHTF of something like he's describing here, where you and your group or your family are responsible for all the tasks for everything. There's nobody that's going to be cooking food for you. There's no rear guard. There's no resupplies being flown in, and there's no medical at the call of a call on the radio and you get medical support. Everything, like he says here, like even managing your waste, where to go to the bathroom, where to have it in your camp, how to stay clean, how to lower a kid's fever in the middle of an SHTF. These are all things that we need to think about rolling into the new year. Number 4, the level of the threat. In SHTF, almost everything is a threat to you. Yes, easy to understand threats like a sniper, gangs, angry neighbors, etc. But the lack of food, complete lack of hygiene, level of contamination, risk of illness and injury, being found, being informed on, being tricked, getting captured, and many, many more make up a larger amount of threats than most ever think of. I think that's an important sentence to think about and go back and look at. Just even start to imagine every supply you take for granted. Fuel, electricity, water, stores, emergency services, etc. being taken away and not knowing when it will ever come back. Then imagine the worst person you ever known, someone you would not trust to help you in any situation. Now imagine everyone around you is like that person. Then imagine everything you climb on, through, or over can hurt you, and that everything you touch has the potential to make you ill. You got all that? If you do, you're maybe 40% on the way to imagining the reality. And I think many of us don't fathom the reality of that. The level of threat is going to be a big shock to you in the beginning. If you survive that shock, it is good, because then you get yourself into the mode of real surviving. No matter how well you are prepared, you will go through that shock. With good preparation and correct mentality, you can minimize that shock and make it shorter. And that is the point of preparing. The fifth and final topic today, the reality of defending and keeping your assets. I know all the points mentioned don't bother you that much, as you have a nice house, lots of supplies, and ready to fight. But how is your plan working once your house or apartment looks like this? And here's a picture of a building here where he's from, Selco is from. And the inside, like this. And there you see the inside of a house or a building. And anyone who is fit must go out a lot to find things for everyday survival. How do you protect all your stuff? Who is going to protect all your things? What? When one day a group so big comes to ask you how you're doing, so okay, and what you have there, that to protect your stuff from them is a clear death sentence. Having the right mindset about the difference between defending something and get killed and adapting yourself in order to survive without it makes sense here. You have to adapt the fact that maybe you'll be forced to survive with only your skills. You do not know and cannot be sure. Understand, in SHTF, every house in the city is going to look like this or worse, not be there. In my city, there are many houses you see like this. You see them because they are made of stone or concrete. You don't see the wood buildings because they all burned down. There were many more things realized and discussed during the course, and I want to say well done to the students for coming with such enthusiasm and asking good questions. Soon I'll write more about the big problem of really misunderstanding the reality so present in the preparedness community just now. Until then, you can read more about the Mile in My Shoes course here. That's where these 5 topics came from. So guys, I wanted to post this today because going into the new year, I think my suspicion is a lot of people, preppers in particular in the United States, have maybe shifted down a few gears because of maybe the current president that's coming in, Donald Trump. But make no mistake about it, this is a very serious time in our country, and I think that you need and I need to step up our preps more than ever. And I say that because I don't trust the system that's in place right now, and I don't trust many around the world that want to see the United States fall and change it to something that it was never intended to be. And so I tell you today, this 22nd day of December 2016, to step up your preps. Read this, let it sink in to your head, and make a list of where you are weak and concentrate on the weak points. Reinforce the strong points, but concentrate on the weak points. Maybe it's getting a bigger group together in the new year, more people on the same page, gathering more supplies, basic stuff like medical supplies that a lot of people don't think too much of. They're always, many are focused on guns and ammunition, which are very important and vital, but somehow don't understand that maybe extra coats and gloves and scarves and hats, depending on the region of the country you're in, would make more sense to have. Shore up your weak foundations, and if need be, tear down the house and rebuild it with a stronger foundation. Reassess what you're doing, and sometimes you need to start over and build stronger. So that's my video today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you'll take it to heart and step up your preps this year, because I think we are in for a rough ride in 2017. Anthony signing off. Stay ready. God bless. More videos to come. Talk to you soon.